Lincoln 102, Lincoln 103 and 102.
Responding to 401 parking structure, section 1 boy.
Henry 8, Henry 9, respond to gate 437 Bravo for your dignitary detail. 3K911 unattended 400 lower level near Terrace.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this edition of the Private Officer Beat Radio for this Monday morning. Can you believe it? Monday morning again. Where does the weekend go? I'm your host, founder and CEO of Private Officer International and Armor College, a public safety school, and my name is Rick McCann. We're so happy, so excited that you're here with us this early in the morning, and I'm sure many of you have yet to even get that caffeine down into you. If you're not like me, I wake up with it, and I have to have it. It's almost withdrawal time at that point. But this is the 31st day, the end of the finito, the finish of July for 2017. It's in the books, as they say. This is the end of the month. And I'm so glad that you chose to spend it with us here on the Private Officer Beat. We've got a lot of stuff to share with you today. We're going to be talking later on about canines, our friends, man's best friends, now really everywhere, in every environment, being used to keep us safe, and we're going to be talking about that coming up. We're also going to be sharing some information with you about some situations happening right now across the country that has put officers, private and public, in danger, even more than ever before. And we also have an interview, we hope to bring that to you later today, of a security officer who was knocked unconscious and raped while on duty at an apartment complex. We have reached out to that security officer, and we are in the midst of trying to render some assistance to them, and we're going to bring you her public story as she told it to the media, and we have some other details about it that we can't really go public with just yet, but I can tell you that this young lady is very strong and very heroic, having gone through such a situation. Believe it or not, this morning we're also looking at some tropical storms, some tropical waves way out there in the Atlantic Ocean that could definitely turn into tropical storms and even hurricanes. We are coming in to the prime season for hurricanes. And this year, there's supposed to be at least a half a dozen named storms, hurricanes that is, here on the Atlantic coast and possibly even into the Gulf region, and that's never good news. I've lived through quite a few of them on the Gulf Coast and the Atlantic. I've been boots on the ground for numerous hurricanes before and after, and I can tell you that it can be very devastating and brutal. We're also very happy this morning to introduce a brand new sponsor for the Private Officer Beat. We want to welcome Crum and Foster. Crum and Foster, are specialists in the insurance industry for the private security industry. Visit them online at www.cfins.com. We're just so happy that they have joined us here on board this morning. And, of course, we want to welcome and thank our really longtime sponsor, Body Armor USA. If you're looking for armor, if you're looking for protection, you're looking for body armor, vest, gloves, stabbing vests to protect you if you're working in corrections. If you're looking for any protection gear, check out our friends at BodyArmorUSA.com. Give them a call today. Our friends over there will take care of you and give you a discount to boot. Well, it's been a horrific weekend, and I hate to start off the broadcast like this frequently, but it's been a pretty hectic weekend, violent weekend for our security professionals across the USA as well as around the country, and put that together with the world security as we're seeing a lot of situations happening around the world. We have issues with, Korea, Russia, several other countries. In Australia, they just stopped a terrorist group who was going to take over a plane and crash it into a target, killing many people, and luckily law enforcement in Australia was able to get word of that and intercede in that and stop that terrorist group. We know there's many others here in the U.S., the U.K., France, and around the world, and unfortunately, it really is scary times for both world security and our own personal security, our homeland security. Dangerous times here in the U.S. and abroad, and it's really frightening. U.S. citizens also fighting their own country, protesting and standing up against things that they know are right and defending those things that they know are wrong. Just this weekend, a video popped up from New Mexico where Border Patrol check, a teacher on vacation with their children, challenged the Border Patrol stop. She just wanted her 15 minutes of fame, just wanted to get a little limelight. She argued that Border Patrol had no grounds, no legal right to stop her, a U.S. citizen. She defied their order to say yay or nay whether or not she was a U.S. citizen. It's just, it's unconscionable what our own citizenry is doing, fighting against our law enforcement, trying to protect our interest, our country, our borders, our, protecting us, you and me. I'm telling you, scary things happening. It really, it's disheartening when you read all of these headlines. Now that I've got you all scared for Monday morning, now that I've got you all awake, I'll tell you, it's just the signs of the times, my friend, signs of the times. We're going to be talking later on in this broadcast about adding man's best friend to the beat and how that has been done many years in many different environments and atmospheres, but we're seeing it now brought in to the general public, into the private sector, and I love having a canine for a partner. I work with canines, and I just love having them being part of the team. There's nothing like having a canine. We're going to be talking about that. I want to remind you also, while we're on the subject, we're not really on the subject, but, I got to kind of slide into this subject somehow. So if you're listening today and you have a birthday, an anniversary, or a promotion announcement, if you know somebody who does, or if you want to submit some news, some training events, promotions of your partners, yourself, good news happening in the security or law enforcement industry, please send that information to helpdesk.privateofficer.com. helpdesk.privateofficer.com. We do print a lot of the bad stuff happening in our industry and law enforcement and the world at large, but we love to put in the headlines how people are making a difference and how good things are happening. I'll give you an example. This past week in Big Island, Virginia, 2 security officers were able to rescue a young lady who was near death. And it just so happened, and we're not going to, take too much of credit here because these young men, these private officers really did it on their own. But it just so happened that about 5 or 6 months ago, Armor College did go into the company, Georgia Pacific, there at the Big Island, Virginia, and certify some of the security staff as emergency medical response team members, a 55-hour course. And one of those in that class, Lieutenant Roderick Nolan, he goes by the initials RJ, and Captain Danny Humphreys was able to save a young girl who had drowned in the family swimming pool. It just so happened that as the dad grabbed up the daughter and was driving by, stopped there at the Georgia Pacific paper mill, and the next thing you know, these 2 security officers are performing CPR and totally saving a life, and our hats are off to them. So if you know of any good news like that, if you want to share something that's happening, whether it be a promotion or a security officer has intervened and been able to rescue somebody or capture a suspect, please, by all means, send that information to helpdesk@privateofficer.com, helpdesk@privateofficer.com. And be sure to check us out every day on Facebook. We post most of the news that we're aware of that involves our industry and public safety over there. Also, follow us right there on Twitter. That's the best way to see what's happening because we're on that thing 24/7. Our help desk is available 24/7. They're always posting stuff. Twitter/Private Officer. Also, check out our daily news magazine at privateofficernews.org. privateofficernews.org. And if you ever have questions about anything at all, and you have, you want an answer for something, you're looking to get some type of statistic or information, or you have a question about the security industry, be sure to email our help desk at privateofficer.com. helpdesk@privateofficer.com. Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we've got a lot more to share with you on this early. For a lot of people, it's not that early, especially people like me who get up between 4 and 5 every morning. But for those of you just now crawling out of bed, yeah, it's kind of early for you. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we got a whole lot more to share with you.
Explosion, and I remember just opening my eyes and it got both of my legs. I had surgery after surgery, and what's going to happen next? The Wounded Warrior Project said, look brother, everything's going to be okay. 3 months from now, 4 months from now, a year from now, you'll be fine. I don't know if I would be as well adjusted as I am now if it wasn't for them.
To learn more, call 1-877-832-6997 or visit Wounded.
For some children, America isn't the land of promise. It's a place where every day is a struggle. Because today in America, 1 in 6 children lives below the poverty line. For these children, living in poverty means going without medicine, going without food, going without a warm home, or even a roof over your head. And that's life for nearly 13 million children of all races, all across America. Where will you draw the line and get involved? You can help these children and their families find a way out of poverty for good. And you can make a difference in more ways than you think. Will you help? Go to povertyusa.org today. Because 1 in 6 children in poverty is one too many.
We are back live with you on this Monday, very, very beautiful Monday morning, the 31st of July, 2017, into the month. Won't be long now. We'll be cruising into late summer days as we approach that August mark, just around the corner, believe it or not. But it's a beautiful time of the year if you like it hot and humid. Here in the Carolinas, broadcasting here just outside of the Charlotte City area, it's a beautiful 64 degrees. It cooled down nicely, and it kind of almost feels like early spring or fall, but we know that's going to heat up quick enough around here as temperatures will again soar in the 90s. For the next probably 6 to 8 weeks. You know, we are kind of in the south here, and temperatures get quite hot late into the fall. Welcome back. We're glad that you're with us. We're talking today about having man's best friend moving into the patrol business, being with us on the beat, and we're going to be talking about canine patrols and their popularity across the U.S. of A. I want to talk about something that's kind of an issue, and it's come up in several meetings, and we're seeing a lot of leniency in the laws and the requirements because of, I guess, who's, in state government and how state government works is just, some states very strict, very, to the right, some states very to the left, some in the middle, but in recent years, a number of states and a number of metropolitan cities have banned the box. It's called the ban the box issue, where many states now require that employers no longer ask if the applicant has ever been arrested, if they've ever had a felony, if they've ever been convicted. It used to be that some states wouldn't allow you to ask if they've been convicted of any criminal offense until after you hired them. But now many states have banned the box, where you just can't ask the applicant if they have any arrest record, because they don't want you to base the decision on their criminal history, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because if they're a thief, if they have a long record of stealing from stores, from businesses, from employers, from their own family, why wouldn't that be a relevant question to ask on an application? Well, as of July 1 of this year, Connecticut law prohibits asking about criminal history on a job application and prohibits employers from, among other things, denying employment solely on the basis of erased records. Further, pardoned and or rehabilitated convictions cannot form the sole basis of a discharge. So, for instance, if you're an employer there in Connecticut and you ask about any type of criminal record, you cannot use that against the applicant in making your decision solely. There's got to be some other things. And without going too far into it, I can tell you that a lot of these people, you can find other reasons not to hire them. It's one thing if they've been pardoned. I can understand that. It's another thing if, they have a long criminal record and they just don't learn from their mistakes. Also, effective July 1 of this year, employers in Vermont are prohibited from requesting a criminal record information on any initial application. You can only ask about criminal history after the employee has been hired. That makes no sense. If you hire somebody and now you ask they have a criminal record and you do a background check and they have a criminal record, now you have to terminate them after you've spent time going through that application process, going through the interview process, going through all of the orientation process, and now, you find out, hey, they're not really the quality person I'm looking for. California adopted new regulations that govern the use of criminal history in employment decisions and largely follow the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission's 2012 enforcement guidelines, which became effective July 1 also of this year. They prohibit employers from considering non-felony convictions of possession of marijuana that are more than 2 years old and prohibit employers from considering criminal history at all if doing so will result in an adverse impact on the individual's protected class. In other words, forget the fact that they're criminals, forget the fact that they're drug dealers, forget the fact that they've shot and killed somebody. You can't ask any of that until later on down the road. And even then, in some states, you can't use that to apply it for the reason for not hiring or for later terminating that employee. Hawaii, Illinois, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New Jersey, Oregon, and Rhode Island already prohibit, with limited exceptions, private employers from inquiring about criminal background information in an employment application. It's ban the box, no question, nothing on that application that asks anything about their criminal history. And you're seeing more and more laws that are siding on the side of the employee. I really don't think it'll be long before an employer will have no options but to hire everybody who comes through the door. And that just isn't the America that I grew up in, or the American way. It's not the Constitution. In most circumstances, a conditional job offer or first interview of a candidate must be conducted before even doing a background check. Now, I said these are state statutes, but there are cities, such as Austin, Texas. Under their city ordinance, which passed last year, private employers with at least 15 employees whose primary work location is within that city are strictly prohibited from inquiring about criminal convictions until you make a job offer. And even then, a criminal history can't always be the reason for not hiring them. LA, California also has an ordinance prohibiting employers from inquiring about job seekers' criminal convictions until a conditional offer of employment is made. In essence, you've got to give them a fair chance. They call this a fair chance process. You have to base their application, their qualifications, their interview on them, on the person, without knowing anything about their criminal history. Well, let me tell you something. That all sounds great, and I believe in second chances. Thank God I've been given more than my share of second chances. But if I'm hiring somebody who has extensive drug convictions, theft convictions, fraud convictions, or violent crime convictions, if I'm interviewing that person, or if I have that application in front of me that lists those charges, I'm definitely, even if I didn't know those charges existed, I'm probably not going to hire him or her once I do. Portland, Oregon, in 2016, they added the private employers to a pre-existing city ordinance barring criminal history inquiries until after that job offer is made. Also in Baltimore, Maryland, Buffalo, New York, Chicago, Illinois, Columbia, Missouri, the District of Columbia, Montgomery County, Maryland, New York City, New York, Philadelphia, Prince George County, Maryland, Rochester, New York, San Francisco, California, and Seattle. They also have ban-the-box laws that apply to private employers, which says you cannot ask that vital question. They don't care. You cannot ask them if they've been arrested or convicted of any crime during that initial application phase or even during the interview. You have to wait until you look at all the applicants, all of the applications, review all the other information, do your interview of all your employee prospective applicants, and then only based on the information that you currently know, the information that you currently have at hand, base that judgment on the information that you know, not the fact that they may have a criminal record or even have been convicted of murder or have outstanding arrest warrants. You cannot base your decision on any of that. It has to be, based on the information that you have at hand. Right or wrong, that's the way the law works. Now, there are subsequent fines and other legal issues that you could face if you violate those state statutes or ordinances. Obviously, it's not right. To me, it only says that we're being extremely lenient and forgiving. And again, don't get me wrong. Don't send me emails and tweets and all that saying, give a person another chance. I believe in giving a person another chance. I'm glad for that second chance. I've had that second chance many times. But we as employers, we have a right to know. We have a right to ask. We should be able to evaluate that person based on everything, not just what we know, not just what's on paper, and so much other information is missing. I'm not here to school you on how to get that information without breaking the law, although I have some suggestions. But basically all of the city ordinances and all the state statutes say that you have to go through that process, that application and all of that other stuff. And it's not until you give them a conditional offer. You say, we'd be interested in hiring you, Tom. And he says, okay, sure, I'd love the job. When can I start? Now you can say, well, we do a background check, and it'll be pending that background check. What do we really accomplish? If the applicant has a minor infraction or a crime that occurred 30 years ago, or even 10 years ago, and they've been, a solid citizen ever since then, yeah, they're definitely a good candidate. Probably for most jobs. I don't know if they're a good candidate for what we do in the public safety industry or private security. In fact, many states won't. If it's a regulatory state, they won't allow the applicant to be licensed if they have a felony of any type, even for theft, burglary, or marijuana. It's a state thing. So again, we can do all those interviews and preliminary background checks, but once we send their prints to the state really is going to be the bad guy in that situation, I can tell you that. But I understand where these laws come from. I understand that, we're trying to give people the benefit of the doubt, and I love that. I just don't know if it's right for our industry. We're coming right back after these messages. You're listening to the Private Officer Beat Radio. I'm the host, Rick McCann. Don't hate the messenger.
quickly. You don't want your friends to be annoyed, so you text, "You're on your way." Is the average time your eyes are off the road while texting while driving. Make sure you get where you're going.
Monday. Thank you for being with us here on the Private Officer Beat. We are talking today about having our best friends, man's best friends on the beat with us. We'll be talking about that here in just a few moments. I want to go over some headlines in the news that you may have seen. In Houston police and other law enforcement agencies are suing Taser because their new version, the X26P, which is supposed to be a better model because they call that the smart unit, the smart model, it's supposed to recognize and adjust for the body weight and the clothing of the person in milliseconds. But police in Houston and other agencies are actually saying that it's putting officers' lives in danger because the actual unit is less powerful than the older X26. The X26 used to put out a whopping 50,000 volts every time. The new X26P puts out less voltage depending on the size of the person, and it sometimes doesn't calculate the information correctly. Taser admits it's not as powerful as the previous model, but it should be just as effective. Dallas, Texas, a woman is under arrest after pointing a handgun at a security officer at a strip club while she was searching for her husband. The 22-year-old woman said that she knew the husband was inside. The security personnel would not allow her to go into Pandora Men's Club at about 3:30 Saturday, and she pulled a handgun and threatened to shoot the security officer. The security officer drew his weapon, screamed or yelled or made a big commotion, and the lady dropped the weapon and was taken into custody. In Sedgwick, Wichita, Kansas, a sheriff's office employee who worked inside the jail has been arrested for sex crimes after coercing females, inmates, to have sex with him. That's against the law in every city, in every state. You can't do that. And he has been arrested and charged. Timothy Kinnear found himself in the wrong side of the jail after being charged with those offenses. In West Palm, Florida, a man there has been arrested for a brawl with security and deputy sheriffs Police say that it took 3 Palm Beach County Sheriff deputies and security to detain Jason Darrell Rohe, 39, after he was involved in a confrontation with them. Police have him in custody, and he will be facing the judge on Monday morning. A widower, a woman whose husband was killed. He was a firefighter, and he was killed by bouncers at a strip club in Phoenix, Arizona earlier this year. She wants legislators to regulate bouncers who evidently they aren't regulated. They have no requirements for training or licensing. Luke Jones, a full-time firefighter, was killed by these bouncers after getting into a confrontation. Now, the 2 bouncers have been charged with second-degree murder. They pled not guilty and are going to trial later in the year. A Traverse City, Michigan man has been bound over to prison, sent to prison for 3 years for ORC. Police said that the man was a frequent flyer. He was a frequent shoplifter, and they sent him to prison. Gene Allen Parrott now faces 3 years in prison. And we are seeing a lot of ORC. It's definitely on the rise. 4 Idaho patrol cars was torched in front of the City Hall in Emmett, Idaho over the weekend. Police believe that it had something to do with an earlier pursuit, a pursuit that occurred earlier in the week, and the suspect's family may have been the ones who torched the patrol cars. 2 Georgia University Police Departments are consolidating in Savannah, Georgia. It looks like Armstrong University and Georgia Southern University, their police agencies, have merged together for a larger, stronger department. In Philadelphia, a Philadelphia security officer was robbed and carjacked this week in Bucks County and Philadelphia. Police say that the 2 men had been involved in an earlier crime spree and obviously saw this security officer at around 4:30 in the morning, beat him up, robbed him, and carjacked him. A Salem, Oregon security officer is under arrest. Now, we've followed this story since the beginning. He shot a man in the parking lot of a business. Police say that the security officer used not only excessive but unreasonable force, and he has been charged with first-degree murder. The security officer has been identified as Gregory Capwell, and he's allegedly killed Jose Francisco Marino, 25, in the parking lot of the Best Western. Virginia man also arrested for assaulting a Dover Downs security officer and being in possession of drugs earlier this week. Police say that the man, Courtney Hill, took a swing and punched a security officer at Dover Downs and was taken into custody. Lieutenant Aaron Allen, a police lieutenant with South Point Police Department, Indiana, 38 years old, was killed when he responded to a crash, and as he walked up to the vehicle was shot to death. Lieutenant Allen and another officer had arrived on scene to check the occupants when the shooting occurred. A Garda security guard on his first day at work is found to be in possession of $100,000. Police have arrested Larry Brooks, 19, of Elizabeth, New Jersey, and they've charged him with fraud and first-degree theft. A lot of news, as always. I'm telling you, there's never a shortage for news. And our news department, our help desk, 24 hours a day, scanning over the news headlines pertaining to the public safety industry and the private security industry, as we're always looking. We're looking 24/7 for the news that not only affects us, but things that could help us, things that could save us. Oftentimes we get information directly from news alerts, press releases from law enforcement and other organizations, and we really have heads up right from the beginning. I told you earlier today, earlier in the show, that we were going to talk today about canines on the job, and we are definitely going to do that. But I have a young lady, a security officer, who was the victim of a horrific, violent, vicious attack while she was on patrol. Now, she was armed, but her attacker came up from behind and was able to knock her unconscious and raped her. Listen to what she told a local news station there.
She's a security guard, and she claims she was knocked unconscious and raped while on patrol. Tonight, she's sharing her powerful story with ABC6.
She talks about the one thing she feared her attacker would do and her struggles since that night. Lisa Rontola reports.
The security guard told me, just like police, she too becomes a victim once she puts on her uniform and her badge. That's why she told me that she tried to switch up her patrolling routine just to keep herself safe. For this mom and security guard who said she had a calling for helping people,
I got to say hi to the children that were outside. Some people had to ask me, I said, you come out, you seem concerned of us.
She knows why she was at the Ashley Village Apartments last month. What she doesn't know,
I know I saw my car, but then after that, everything just went blank.
Is why she was attacked from behind and knocked unconscious while walking patrols just before midnight.
I don't know if it was just a hit, or they hit more than one time, or it was a hit and, the grabbing.
We promised we would not identify this 38-year-old who realized when waking up she had also been raped. Her pants were down.
A lot went through my head. Why me?
Her gun was gone too.
Or he could have took the gun and killed me. So it's a lot that went through my mind.
Now police say they've identified the security guard's attacker as 18-year-old Nehemia Hunter. They say DNA from the teen, who was known to do drugs and have anger issues as a juvenile offender, matched DNA left at the scene.
At the time, I just wanted to drop and die because I'm just like, why would people do the things they do?
And as this mom now struggles with her bills and going back to work,
I don't want them to petty me, or I don't want them to see me less of a person.
This teen denies knowing the victim or any security guard. He also denies committing this woman's life-altering crime.
That why probably will never be answered. Why me?
Lisa Rontola, ABC6 News.
This was a horrific crime, and I'm sad to say that this is not something that just happened for the first time, or something that we don't see on a regular basis. But at least 10 times a year, we see security officers raped or sexually assaulted. We just had a security officer in Pennsylvania 2 weeks ago sexually assaulted at a casino. And just a month ago, another casino female security officer was sexually assaulted while driving a shuttle bus by one of the casino guests, who later interviewed with the local media and said he didn't remember it because he was intoxicated and had used some type of illegal narcotic. We know that at least seven security officers sexually assaulted or raped so far in 2017. It is outrageous that any employee should be subject to this type of violence, to this type of attack. But here in the U.S., more than 30,000 security officers are assaulted and injured every year. Thousands of cases of workplace violence go unreported. And yet, most employers, and even those who are victims, say little about it. We need to wake up. We need to understand the dangers of our business, of our industry, of the position, and stop trying to sweep it under the rug. As private security becomes more and more and more and more on every possible job, every type of business, college, hospital, corporation, transit, airlines, we're everywhere, folks. Private security and private law enforcement on the front line, and we need to protect these people. Now, Private Officer International does have a victims assistance program, and we have reached out to this young lady, and she has called us back. We've been able to connect with her thanks to the local news station there, and we've assisted several others this year. And if you know of any officer needing assistance, have them contact helpdesk@privateofficer.com or call our office Monday through Thursday at 704-831-8109. Coming up in just a few moments, we're going to be talking about our canine partners and why more and more companies, hospitals, colleges, and corporations are putting these duels, these officers and their dogs on the front line. Currently, I also want to let you know about a couple of opportunities. We're currently hiring in D.C. If you're a special police officer instructor, we need to speak with you. We have an office there. We need to really staff up, and we'd love to speak with you. If you're qualified, send us an email at helpdesk@armour.college.org or call us Monday through Thursday, 804-290-4388. We're also looking for DCJS armed instructors in Richmond and in Virginia Beach, Virginia, and we're looking for a Tennessee instructor, security instructor, and we're also looking for instructors in Florida. And if you are or know of somebody who is an RN, we're looking for an RN to head up our new health science department. Have them call us Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 5 o'clock Eastern at 804-290-4388, or send a resume to helpdesk@armourcollege.org, armourcollege.org. I would be remiss if I didn't say that the dangers and the situations of security are really beyond what anyone is even aware of, or that in our world, in our country, people, they just don't see security being in a dangerous job. They say, I've heard people say construction workers face more dangers than you. That's not true. We face more dangers than law enforcement. It's just not being realized. It's just not being, put in the media. It's just not being put in the forefront of those who should be taking notice. It's sad. It is the way that it is, unfortunately, and I hope that things will change sooner than later. Remember that the Private Officer Memorial is coming up. We have an annual memorial every year, the third week of September, and we have a memorial ride where we travel to do memorial services across the country. If you would like to sponsor a memorial service or you would like to donate, please email helpdesk@privateofficer.com, helpdesk@privateofficer.com. We're going to take one more quick break, and when we come back, we'll be talking about canines on the beat.
From coast to coast, cops are cracking down on seatbelt violations. Buckle up day and night, or expect a ticket. It doesn't matter who you are or where you live, they'll be on the lookout. Cops write tickets to save lives. Click it for ticket.
bombing in England. Bomb-sniffing dogs will be on site for events, beginning with the Chainsmokers concert tomorrow night. 4 teams will sweep inside and outside the venue before, during, and after events. The heightened security had been planned for the summer, but after what happened in Manchester, Arena President Don Waddell said he didn't want to wait another day.
Well, it's an eye-opener for sure. You know, we've talked about it for a long time that you hope that a venue would never be hit.
Other security measures include more cameras, police officers, and metal detectors.
So much attention now being given to the terrorist situation here in the U.S. and abroad. So much attention now is being given to what canine teams can do, not only to keep us safe while we're there, but to keep our building safe prior to an event, prior to a concert, and to keep all of us safe, all of our officers safe while on patrol. As a canine officer, I can tell you that it's great to have such a partner with us that is so alert. And, you know, many canines, they have specific jobs and duties. In this situation, at the PNC Arena up in Raleigh, they decided, you know, hey, there's a lot of things happening in this country that's not good. There's a lot of heightened terrorist activity, not only in the U.S., but in other countries. We need to add that nose, you know, here at our arena. So the PNC Arena in Raleigh, North Carolina, added a canine team to sniff out for explosives. And we're seeing more and more dogs being added to the team for multiple reasons. Now, let me explain a couple of things. Canines, dogs, it doesn't matter if they're German Shepherds or whether they're, you know, crossbreeds, labs. It doesn't matter if they're a little Chihuahua. They can be trained to be bomb dogs, to sniff out bombs or other things, drugs, if they have the right temperament and if they are trainable. The size isn't what really matters when training a dog for those type of tasks. There's a number of different type of dog teams out there, both in law enforcement and in private security. At the airports, we have bomb-sniffing dogs. We have dogs that are looking for specific smells. They can smell gunpowder. They can smell explosive residue, even stuff that is left over from long ago. Dogs' noses are 100, 200, 300 times more than a human being. They can smell things like you wouldn't believe. In fact, recently, the Department of U.S. Agriculture has added a larger team of dogs at airports to sniff out bugs coming in from other countries on food and clothing that are not, you know, native to our country that might be dangerous. Dogs also assist with things like in agriculture, like food that people are smuggling in that, you know, could have disease, could have bugs. You'd be surprised. And these dogs are all breeds and all sizes. But dogs are used mainly on patrol. Some are, they're used for bombs sniffing. They're used for drug. Some are protection dogs. Some are cross-trained. And you see that on the patrol when officers have patrol dogs. Usually they're cross-trained for searches, drugs, and protection. But not all dogs. Some dogs are only have one item that they're trained for. But we're seeing more and more security teams in hospitals and colleges across the country who are adding these dogs for protection. They're adding these dogs to kind of break the ice with customers, with students, with people at the hospital. Now, let me tell you something. Police dogs are not aggressive. They are not bred or trained to bite or injure or kill. They are dogs who are trained to do what their handler tells them to, and they respond to that handler.
I'm Officer Doug Hotchkiss. I'm Temple Police Department. I'm canine officer here since 2013. What I do here on a daily is I patrol, I do car stops, normal police work until I get a call for unattended bag. When people see Baron, everyone loves dogs. They always smile. They ask if they can pet him. Unfortunately, when he's on duty, I can't allow people to pet him. It's just, normal protocol. I don't want people to just be able to come up and pet him. So people love him, kids love him, but when he's on duty, I can't allow it. See the dog, put something in their head like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this because the dog's here. I've seen it in person. I've done it. I've pulled it out in large crowds, and it's ended something immediately. And the dog is a great asset. And you could take 30 cops, and people wouldn't still do it. But you take a dog out, and it, clears. It just ends it. It's done. I've done it myself. It's great. When someone sees a dog, it's always immediate response to it because somebody always listens to you when you have a dog because they just want to see that dog. And it's a great PR because that just puts a smile on someone's face immediately. I always see it. I love it.
Post 911, where there were a larger number of bomb threats being called in around the city, including Temple University, Temple Hospital. And there was a need at the time that we felt that we should have our own resources because we were taxing the Philadelphia police resources of them responding to these types of calls. You have large buildings here. You have calls may come in. Sometimes we get calls closer to finals. People try to want to get the building evacuated, so we were able to quickly go in and take a look, do a search of the building if need be. The other piece is that you do maybe on occasion have unattended property that's left. It's a campus. There are a lot of bags. We have a lot of events around the campus. We have the Leo Cora Center that has a large amount of events, including dignitaries, presidential hopefuls, or actual sitting presidents. We've had past presidents, Bill Clinton, for instance. We've had Rosalind Carter come out, and with that, we have to sanitize the buildings prior to the event. And the canine is invaluable in doing that. Having the dogs here, I think, one, is part of our whole emergency preparedness structure. The other piece to it is that I think it gives people peace of mind to know that we have that equipment and we have the dogs available, that should there be a need that we can quickly find whether we detect or not detect something. So far we've been very fortunate that nothing has been detected.
In the last 18 months, we've tracked more than 20 agencies, private agencies at colleges, at high schools, and at hospitals and business corporations who have added these canine partnerships. We know we can come to expect them at airports. TSA has a whole unit of dogs teams that they deploy at airports across the country. We can depend on these dogs to keep us safe. But in the private world, at colleges and hospitals and corporations, they're doing it because of the heightened terrorist situation, bombs. They're doing it to add extra layers of protection. They're doing it because they want dogs out there depending on their nose, sometimes for drug seizures. Like the officer said from Temple University PD, when you have a dog will do one of three things immediately. The moment that you bring the dog out, the minute that you put him on the lead, the minute that he gets out of the patrol car, the minute that he enters that scene, if it's a friendly encounter, then everybody's going to light up. Everybody's going to be like, whoa, hey, what a beautiful dog. Hey, can I pet the dog? And it's all going to be on a great PR tool. Some agencies do not allow the dog to be petted or the horse while they're on duty, and that's because they want those animals to maintain that work atmosphere. They don't want it to seem like play. Other agencies, they do allow the dog or the horse to be petted while on duty. It really depends on how they're trained. The second thing that they do when you enter a scene, when you take that dog out of the car and you snap that lead on his collar, let me tell you something. If there's a fight, if there's an aggressive actor on the scene, if there's a situation that might be a little violent, the moment that you put that dog in that scene, I can tell you from experience, people listen. There may have been 8 cops on scene. They may be screaming, break it up, get away, back off. And they're not listening to the officer's command. But you put a dog or a couple of dogs out there on the scene, and it's an immediate reaction. They're going to leave. They're going to break up the fight. They're going to listen to the officer's commands because they don't want to get bit, just like they don't want to get tased. They know that the dogs mean business. And the third thing that happens when you get a dog on a scene, whether it be a possible drug activity or a missing person or explosives, that dog is there to work. He's not there to get the girl's phone number. He's not there to fool around. He's not, going to be tired. He's not thinking about, I've got all this stuff to do tomorrow. He's there to work. And the only thing that dog is really looking for, especially on these searches, is they're looking for the toy. They're looking for their reward, and that's the only thing. It's a big game to them, but it works. And dogs, whether it be working in partnership with a hospital or a corporation or an airport or a law enforcement or a security patrol team, they are great. And that's why we're seeing so many different types of environments using the dog. So let's look at this again. Dogs are specifically trained to do one of 4 things. Bombs, which includes gunpowder, firearms, things like that. They are trained to do searches. They'll search for that person, and they do it because they're sniffing scent. They're also bombs who are drug trained. We all see those on cop shows and Live PD and other shows. We know that they're looking for drugs. Again, they're trained on different scents, whether it be opioid, marijuana, whatever it might be. They're trained for that scent, and really, it's a game to them. They're really looking for the toy. And the other thing that they do is their protection dog. There's a lot of police dogs that you just cannot get around the officer. You cannot get around the handler. And if you try to, that dog's going to go crazy. Even if he's in the back seat, if he's in his little caged-in area, he is going to go berserk because he's protecting his handler, his partner. They live together. Most officers take their dogs home, their family dogs. Some officers put them out in a pen. Others bring them inside. These dogs and the officers are one, whether they're on duty or off duty. You're seeing a lot more private entities understanding the importance of having that nose, having those trained animals on the property. And a lot of hospitals, a lot of colleges have added those dual teams.
Today to help Houston.
These officers are actually a part of K-9 teams trained to detect explosive devices. Stephanie Whitfield shows us where you will see these officers at work.
That I will faithfully execute. All lawful orders.
These law enforcement officers from across the nation have taken on a new title this week. While in Houston for the Super Bowl, they're Special Deputy U.S. Marshals, and they all work with specially trained K-9 partners.
If you smell a cake, this animal smells the flour, the sugar, the yeast. They have extremely keen sense of smell, and they're trained to alert on things that are used in making explosive devices.
The K-9 teams were called in to help from cities like San Francisco, Cleveland, and even Guam, a U.S. territory.
It was a pretty long flight, 16 hours.
Most of the dogs are trained on about 19,000 different scents.
We're primarily assigned to mass transit with the Metropolitan Transit Authority in Los Angeles. So the dogs that we have are around thousands of people every day.
You'll see these teams at every event that's sanctioned by the NFL.
This will be our 3rd Super Bowl that we've been to. And we were in Phoenix, San Francisco, and now here.
Since the Super Super Bowl is considered a national security event, it's all hands on deck, effective immediately.
We are here. This event will be done safely, and we want everybody to enjoy the events and go home safe.
Whether it be at the Super Bowl or at a local football game at the high school or walking down the corridors of the hospital or at the airport where we know bad things can happen, it just adds that extra sense of real security. It adds that extra layer of protection that you can't get from another human being. Canines partnering up with private security and law enforcement isn't something new. We've done it since the 60s. Sometimes agencies have canceled their programs due to bites. Other times, we've seen headlines saying, oh, bad police dogs. You know, police departments are using their dogs against the citizens of our community. And that's not it at all. Police dogs are trained to protect. They're trained to do a job, and they do them well. Whether you're working in the private security, public safety, or law enforcement industry, having a canine team is an added advantage. But having multiple canine teams that can do multiple tasks is an even larger benefit to your department, your agency, or your employer or client. That's why you're seeing more and more private companies, hospitals, colleges. I've even seen them in churches, patrolling church parking lots and grounds. We have churches in Charlotte and other areas that I travel to that have 10, 15,000, 20,000 people on their campuses. It's a major city within the city. We've seen dogs at the mall, and you're going to see more and more canine teams out there doing their duty, doing their job on a daily basis. Private security, public safety, canine teams. It's not something new, but I can guarantee you it's something you're going to see more and more of. Don't forget the Private Officer Memorial Services. Sponsor them, donate to them. Email helpdesk@privateofficer.com. That's going to conclude this episode of the Private Officer Beat. And as we always say, be blessed, be safe, and we'll see you back here on the radio.